Shabbat Shalom and greetings. Greetings to the people who are the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whose name was changed to Yashar, otherwise known as Israel, who are scattered, according to prophecy, to the four corners of the earth in various places of captivity. Greetings. Greetings to the human beings who are not of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but would like to serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as the Gentiles in the days of the Romans, the Galatians, the Philippians, the Colossians also did. Greetings to those who are confused by religion and are tired of organized religion, but want to see righteousness reign and corruption be put to death forever. Greetings to you. Greetings, Junior, and those on YouTube, and those in Power Talk, and those in Periscope. Greetings to all of you. We have been studying the prophecies of Daniel. And what we did when we studied the prophecies of Daniel, we went Daniel chapter 1 through Daniel chapter 4. And then we skipped over 5 and 6 and went to chapter 7 and 8. Shabbat Shalom. We went to chapter 7 and 8. And I told you the reason we did that is because when you look at chapter 7 and 8, it indicates that those things that took place in those two chapters actually took place prior to chapter 5. And so we're going to be going back today into chapter 5. And the goal is to do today and tonight chapter 5, and during the course of the weekend, chapter 5 and 6. Then go back and review chapter 8 and go to chapter 9, a very important and pivotal chapter in Daniel. But before we do that, I'd like to read what we've already studied. Isaiah chapter 50. We already studied this book and this chapter in our previous study. Prior to doing the study that we're doing now in Daniel, we did Ezekiel, and we also, prior to that, we did Isaiah. So I want to read today from Isaiah chapter 51. Isaiah chapter 51. And I'm going to read from verses 1 to 7 of Isaiah chapter 51. Hearken to me, ye that follow after righteousness, ye that seek Yahweh. Look unto the rock whence ye are hewn, and to the hole of the pit whence ye are digged. Look unto Abraham your father, and unto Sarah that bare you. For I called him alone, and blessed him, and increased him. For Yahweh shall comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places. And he will make her wilderness like Eden, and her desert like the garden of Yahweh. Joy and gladness shall be found therein, thanksgiving and the voice of melody. Hearken unto me, my people, and give ear unto me, O my nation. For a law shall proceed from me, and I will make my judgment to rest for a light of the people. My righteousness is near, my salvation is gone forth, and mine arms shall judge the people. The isles shall wait upon me, and on mine arm shall they trust. Lift up your eyes to the heavens, and look upon the earth beneath. For the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment, and they that dwell therein shall die in like manner. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. Hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my law. Fear ye not the reproach of men, neither be ye afraid of their revilings. Brothers and sisters, notice what we read here. He said, the Most High said through his prophet Isaiah, otherwise known as Yeshaya, his righteousness shall never be abolished. He also said that the people who know righteousness are the people in whose heart is his law. Now, let's talk about that for a minute, because it's going to play a significant role as we study Daniel chapter 5 today. So let's talk about that for a second. The Bible says that the law of the Most High is holy, right? It says his law is holy. We're talking about the law of the covenant, Shabbat Shalom. We're talking about the law of the covenant that the Most High made with Israel. It said holy. So let me ask you something. Rhetorical question. If that law dwells in any person, would not that person also be holy? If a holy law dwells within a human being, would not that human being be holy? And what does it mean to be holy? Well, the word holy is the word set apart. Okay? Set apart. Call it in Hebrew the Ruach Kadash, set apart spirit. And it is by a spirit of the Father that we receive this holiness and we receive his law. You see, many people, and under the influence of unfortunately, under the influence of the Gentiles, when they think of the law of the Most High, they think of a performance first. They think of a performance that must be done. And at the end of the day, yes, the law becomes a performance that must be done. That's called obedience. But before we can actually accomplish that which must be done, we must be changed. Because in our state that we're in, the image of the Most High has been marred, corrupted because of sin. Sin, according to the Bible, is the disobedience of his law. And all human beings have sinned or have been disobedient. So simply by our desire to be obedient, we cannot accomplish obedience. There has to be a fundamental change from within. And that change is accomplished by the Spirit of the Father. You see, what most people fail to realize in this carnal world in which we live, everything is done by a spirit. Like, you see a person and they might be of regular disposition, and something might happen and anger comes over them. You ever have that happen to you? It's a spirit of anger or a spirit of jealousy or a spirit of serenity and happiness. We don't realize that this whole world is run by spirits. Many people are scared of spirits, but the Most High teaches us that we would be part of his spirit if we would be changed. Messiah told Nicodemus, the Hebrew, you must be born again of the water and of the spirit, or you can't see the kingdom. So we must be born again of the Father's spirit of righteousness. And that's what his spirit is. That's why he said here in Isaiah 51, my righteousness is near and my salvation is go forth. Hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my law. You see, when you're truly born again, first thing is you're sorry for your sin. You're not sorry because you got caught. like Judas was. You're sorry because you know it's wrong and it's against your creator. And then he forgives you your sin, Shabbat Shalom, because he has offered his own son, the Mashiach, Yahweh, the teacher, in place of your sin. And he did that not for us to continue in sin or continue to be harassed by spirits of evil, but that we would be filled with his spirit. And therefore his law. That makes us holy, not because we are holy in and of ourselves, not because we're obedient in and of ourselves. We are holy and obedient because of his spirit and his presence. We cannot make ourselves holy. We can only be made holy by the Father. So that as vessels of the Most High, we become his holy vessels. And as such, our disposition becomes glory to him whose vessels we belong. You know, a brother was sharing with me this week. Well, actually, he shared with me last week. We went back and forth with it for a minute because I didn't catch it at first what he was trying to say. But it's Romans chapter 12. Now, it's interesting about Romans chapter 12 because it's obviously following Romans chapter 11, right? And Romans chapter 11 is the chapter in which the Apostle Paul is explaining to the Israelite converts from among the Gentiles, because that's what they were. They were not Christians in a Christian church at Rome. They were Israelite converts converted to the Israelite Messiah, who is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And they were converted into the commonwealth of Israel, according to Ephesians. So he was explaining to them how it came to be that they got this opportunity. Because prior to that time, Israelites wasn't dealing with Gentiles on that level. Not on a regular basis. You might have a Uriah the Hittite. You might have a Nebuchadnezzar. You might have a Cyrus the Persian. You know, these were exceptions. But on a regular basis, nobody was seeking out Gentiles to show them the Israelite truth of the only true God, which was folly on the Israelites' part. So Paul was now explaining to the Gentile converts how it came to be that the Israelites were finally going to fulfill what their mission was, to be a nation of priests and ministers. And in Romans chapter 11, he explains it to them. And let's begin there, and then we'll go to chapter 12, Romans chapter 11, beginning at verse 13. The apostle says, "For I speak to you Gentiles, and as much as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, that is you Gentiles, being a wild olive tree, and were grafted in among them, the Israelites, and with them, the Israelites, partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree, the nation of Israel, boast not against the branches. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Well, Because of unbelief, they were broken off. And thou standest by faith. Be not high minded, but fear. For if Yah spared not the natural branches, take heed, lest he also spare not thee. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of Yah on them which fell, severity. But toward thee, goodness, if thou continue in his goodness. Otherwise, thou also shalt be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For Yah is able to graft them in again. For if thou, that is you Gentiles, were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree of Israel, how much more shall these, which be the natural branch, be grafted into their own tree? For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins. As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes. But as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sakes. For the gifts and calling of Yah are without repentance. That means it never changes. That means it cannot be changed without repentance. So he called forth a nation of Israel, the children of Jacob. It can never be changed, ever. For as ye in times past have not believed Yah, yet have now obtained mercy through their unbelief, even so have these also now not believed, that through your mercy they also may obtain mercy. For Yah hath concluded them all in unbelief, that he might have mercy upon all. Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of Yah. How unsearching of the master, or who hath been his counsel, or who hath first given to him, and it shall be recompensed unto him again. For of him, and through him, and to him are all things, to whom be glory forever. Amen. Chapter 12. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yah, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Yah, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, by the Father's Spirit, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yah. So, as Messiah offers himself by the command of the Father as a sacrifice for Yah's people, so Yah's people now offer themselves for the glory of the Father. That's how we have holiness. Now, the Most High is really not concerned with things that are not holy. Let me say it again. He is really not concerned about things that are not holy. That's why people on this earth say, well, where's God? Where's God when all of this happens? Because he's not concerned with things that are not holy, because people on earth decided they wanted to serve themselves. That's why we had this problem. But he is very concerned when his people give themselves to him to be holy unto him. Very concerned. Okay, let's take a look again. Zechariah chapter 2. Zechariah chapter 2. Zechariah chapter 2. I'm going to start at chapter 1. I'm going to start at chapter 1. I'm begin at verse 18. Then I'm going to go into chapter 2 and I'm going to end at verse 8. So I'm going to start at chapter 1 and verse 18 and go into chapter 2 and end at verse 8 for context. Then I lifted up my eyes, says Zechariah, and saw, and behold, 4 horns. Remember the 4 we saw in Daniel? Okay. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he said unto me, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. And Yahweh showed me 4 carpenters. Then said I, what come these to do? And he spake, saying, these are the horns which have scattered Judah. And so that no man did lift up his head, but these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, and which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it. I lifted up mine eyes again and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, whither goest thou? And he said unto me, to measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof. See, whenever you see measurements like that in the Bible, when somebody's measuring something, when they measure a temple, what they're doing is measuring it against perfect righteousness. They're measuring it against the covenant of Yah to see if it matches up, to weigh it. We're going to talk more about that when we see Daniel chapter 5. And behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him, and said unto him, run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls for the multitude of men and cattle therein. For I, saith Yahweh, will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and will be the glory in the midst of her. Ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith Yahweh, for I have spread you abroad as the 4 winds of the heaven, saith Yahweh. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwelleth with the daughter of Babylon. For thus saith Yahweh of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that touches you touches the apple of his eye. You see, that's when Yahweh, his attention is raised. When his people, his bloodline people, who have given themselves to him to obey his law, when they are getting touched, his antennas go up. As we're going to see when we study Daniel 5. See, the Most High, Gentiles do what Gentiles do. But when they get that which is holy involved in their mess, there's a problem. Therein lies the problem that Nebuchadnezzar had. When we looked at Daniel chapter 3, with Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and the golden statue, everybody was out there bowing to this statue when they heard the music. Hey, that's their business. They can religion what they want. But when you took the holy vessels of Yah, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, and tried to include them in your idolatrous worship, now you have a problem. Okay, and that, brothers and sisters, has a lot to do with the mark of the beast. Beast could do whatever he wants. That's his business. But when he tried to lay hands or include the holy vessels of Yah in his idolatry, there's a problem. And the Most High is going to solidify the holiness. That's what's going on right now, brother. He's putting his spirit on the sincere ones. He's putting his spirit on the honest and sincere ones that want to serve the Father. He's putting his spirit on us. That's why I say it's not about joining a camp. It's not about joining an organization. Let me show you something with regard to that. Let me show you something. Right after he gave Israel the covenant, and he told Moses to come up into the mountain, He was going to give Moses more instruction. Well, he did. He gave Moses all kind of instructions aside from the covenant he spoke from Mount Sinai. He gave Moses the covenant in written form that he read, that he put on 2 tables of stone, as you recall, with his own hands, right? Then he was giving Moses the instructions of how to build that sanctuary, that one where they were going to have sacrifice and stuff in Israel, and that law regarding the sanctuary that pointed to Messiah, and so on and so forth. Before he started all that, he said something to Moses that was very, very interesting. I want to show it to you. I'm going to read right after he gave the covenant. Okay, right after he gave the covenant in Exodus chapter 20, after he gave the covenant, I'm going to read from verse 18 of Exodus chapter 20. And this is a principle. We talked about this on Wednesday night. There's principles that the Most High gives, principles of righteousness that are forever, just like his laws forever. And I want to show you one right now. Okay, Exodus chapter 20, beginning at verse 18. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood far off. And they said unto Moses, speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not Yah speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for Yah has come to prove you, that his fear may be before your faces, that you sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near into the thick darkness where Yah was. And Yahweh said unto Moses, thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. An altar of earth shalt thou make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thy oxen, in all places where I record my name. I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. There's the principle. He said it's got to be natural from the Most High. If you try to make improvements on that which he has set apart, you just messed it up. So that's what I say. All these denominations with their names and their 501c3, they're polluted. That's not him that does that. Nowhere in the scripture has he said, I want you to make a Mormon church or Jehovah's Witness church or SDA church. He had never said that, because that's telling you that's man, that's their tools, that's polluted. It's just like us. When we have been born again, did we make ourselves born again? Or did the Father's Spirit make us born again? And if we try to improve on the Father's Spirit, we just polluted ourselves. So therefore, it's not about 501c3 corporations, denominations, organizations, institutions with names like Islam or names like Buddhism. No, that's man. Man did that. And they could do that if they want to. But for Israel, that name was not like, we didn't make that up. Our father's name was Jacob. And the Most High changed his name. The Most High did that. He changed it to Israel. And then his father's name was Abraham. And the father said, your name not going to be Abraham anymore. It's Abraham now. We didn't make that up. Somebody said, can we get a name for our father? No. The Father in heaven did that. And he changed Jacob's name. That black man, Jacob, he changed his name to Israel. Yashar, meaning right with, to be right with. And Al, meaning the Most High, right with the Most High. I'm changing your name from Jacob to be right with the Most High. And I'm blessing your children as my chosen nation. Therefore, what Yah did, man cannot add to it or take away from it. It is what it is. And that is holy. Now, here we are in Daniel chapter 5. And as I mentioned to you, Daniel chapter 5 actually came after chapter 7 and 8, came after 7 and 8. So let's take a look first, just to remind us of that. Chapter 7, which we already studied. You remember the four beasts coming up out of the water, with the little horn coming up out of one of them, and subduing the whole earth and raining havoc on the saints. That happened, Daniel chapter 7 and verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the son of the matters. That was the first year of Belshazzar's reign, chapter 7. Then we saw, remember, a ram and a goat, right? We saw that in Daniel chapter 8. And 2,300 years of waiting and of allowing evil to triumph. We're going to go back into that till we finish these two chapters of 5 and 6. Of the reign of Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. So you can see here, chapter 7, chapter 8 happened first. Why? Because in chapter 5, Belshazzar that he's talking about in these two chapters, he dies in chapter 5. Okay? And we're going to talk about why he died and what happened. But it has everything to do with what we've already been talking about. And it has everything to do as a sign of what's getting ready to come. Okay? So let's go to Daniel chapter 5 and talk about and read about this same Belshazzar that we read in 7 and 8. Daniel chapter 5, beginning at verse 1. Daniel 5, beginning at verse 1. And we'll read from verse 1 down to verse 5. Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels, which his father, Nebuchadnezzar, had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of Yahweh, which was at Jerusalem. And the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver and of brass, of iron, of wood and stone. In the same hour came forth the fingers of a man's hand, and he wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. He was fine when he was having his party, until he went and got the holy vessels of Yah and included them in his debauchery. You see, he touched that which is holy and tried to include it with his idolatrous mess. That's where he messed up. But it was already prophesied, because we already saw in chapter 7, Babylon was the first beast, the lion, right? And then after that came what? A bear, right? Right? Then a leopard, and then this 10-horned beast, right? So we see that Babylon was destined, right, to come to an end. And Daniel had already told his father, Nebuchadnezzar's grandfather, really. He already told him. He said, "Go come a kingdom after you of silver, and then another one of brass, then another one of iron, and it's going to have iron and clay in its feet." He already told him that. And then Daniel saw chapter 8 even, where he saw past Babylon already, and he was looking at the Greek Empire, and then he was looking at the Roman Empire, then he even was looking at the papacy. Chapter 8. So he saw way past what was happening here. So by the time Daniel arrives at this party, he already knows Babylon is doomed. It was prophesied. And how it came to its destruction was that they got real proud, real stupid, and decided to include that which was holy in their debauchery. Okay? So he gets this writing, The writing is on the wall. And without even reading it, I could tell you right now, and you know right now, what's that writing say in short? Babylon, Belshazzar, you finished. Because you done messed up. You done crossed the line. You took that which is set aside for the Most High Yah's priests, and you included it in your debauchery like it was common stuff. Let's continue. Daniel chapter 5. I'm going to start at verse 5 again. I'm going to read from verse 5 down to verse 9. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologer, the Chaldean, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet, and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Then came in all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writing, nor make known to the king the interpretation thereof. Then was King Belshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished. There was a sense of doom in the palace. You see, this is the same thing that's coming to the earth today. Right now, earth has gone buck wild. And that's their business. While the earth is going buck wild, the Israelite people, the children of the ancient ones, what you call the African descendants of slaves, while this mockery is going all over the earth, this corruption, this disease, this death, this greed, there are certain people that nobody's paying attention to that are surrendering themselves to the Father, not to white Jesus, not to Christianity, to the Creator himself, from the line of the tribe of Judah in his name. They're discovering who they are. They're awakening to their ancestors. And they're being prepared to receive the Father's spirit of righteousness while everything is going on the planet. And then things are going to get worse here. But then it's going to get to a point where there's going to be a religious revival. That's what's coming. The religious revival will not be a religious revival of truth. You're going to have people going to Mormon churches and Jehovah's Witness churches and SDA churches. People that are Muslim are going to be revived in their religion. You're going to see a revival of religion. Among all those people, except a small, insignificant group that are scattered, that will not be part of these organizations, and yet are seeking the spirit of the Creator. See, what we're seeing right now is a dress rehearsal. It's a wake-up call. That's what it is. And some will be awakened, and others, a majority, will not. And people are going to go do what they do. Writing is on the wall. Chapter 30. Jeremiah chapter 30. Jeremiah 30, beginning at verse 1. Talking about Judah and Israel. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh saying, thus speaketh Yahweh Most High of Israel. saying, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For lo, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah, saith Yahweh. And I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. And these are the words that Yahweh spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. Remember, they were separated. He's going to bring them back together, Israel and Judah. Mm-hmm. But thus saith Yahweh, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now whether ye see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces turned into paleness. That's the sense of doom right there. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. See, for the last 2,000 years, especially here in America, we know for sure, we can, even any person that doesn't even know these prophecies can see that we've been under the last 400 years having strangers serve themselves of us. Having strangers serve themselves of us. Using us to build up their wealth. But this prophecy says that's going to change. That's going to flip. And that's no longer going to happen. It's going to flip. And it's going to be a sense of doom among those that have been profiting off of our backs. A sense of doom is coming. Just like what happened here in Daniel chapter 5. When the writing came on the wall, there was a sense of doom. And the king was concerned. And he should have been. Daniel chapter 5. I'm going to start at verse 9 and go from verse 9 down to verse 12. Then was the king Belshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished. Now the queen, by reason of the words of the king, his lord, and his lords came into the banquet house, and the queen spake and said, O king, live forever. Let not thy thoughts trouble thee, for thy countenance, nor let thy countenance be changed. There is a man in thy kingdom, in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And in the days of thy father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, is found in him. Whom the king Nebuchadnezzar, thy father, the king, I say, thy father made master of magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. For as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding and interpretation of dreams and showing of hard sentences and dissolving of doubts were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called. And he was shown the interpretation. Now, she was not at the party. She came in. And she said, notice how many times she mentioned about Daniel, about a spirit that dwelt in him. You notice how many times she said that? Wisdom of the gods. He is master of the soothsayers. Say, in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. Because Daniel was known by the spirit that dwelt within him. Daniel was known by the spirit that dwelt within him. And I also want you to notice, the king had named him Belteshazzar, but she was now calling him by his Hebrew name, Daniel. Because they knew better now than to mess with this brother. Because the spirit that was dwelling within him. And all they could say, it was the spirit of the God, the spirit of the Holy, they could say, because they was pagan. But we know it's the set apart spirit of the Father that is now seeking to inhabit the last day people. Okay? In whose heart is his law. Daniel chapter 5, verse 13. Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, art thou that Daniel, which are of the children of the captivity of Judah, like the former slaves? Are you one of them former slaves that we took from Africa, whom the king my father brought out of jewelry? I have even heard of thee, that the spirit of the gods is in thee, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. I heard of you, Daniel. I heard of you, Hebrews. I heard of y'all. We used to have y'all as slaves. We took you out the land. I heard the spirit was with y'all. There was some of y'all out there. And I heard about you, Daniel. Verse 15. Now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But they could not show the interpretation of the thing. And I heard of thee that thou canst make interpretation, dissolve doubts. Now, if thou canst read the writing and make known unto me the interpretation thereof, thou shalt be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about thy neck, and shalt be the third ruler in the kingdom. At this moment, Daniel is listening to this man. And Daniel already knows his kingdom is finished. He already knew from Daniel, from the first vision he got in the first year of Belshazzar, and the second one he got in the third year of Belshazzar. He already knew that this man's kingdom was done. Just so. Brothers and sisters, let me show you some more. Let me show you some more prophecy now. Let me show you some more prophecy. Amos, chapter 8, the prophet Amos. I want to show you how all these prophets speaking with one voice, brother. They speak with one voice thousands of years ago about us. Amos chapter 8, beginning at verse 11. Beginning at verse 11 and going to verse 12, Amos chapter 8. Behold, the days come, said the Most High Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of Yahweh. And they shall wander from sea to sea, from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh, and shall not find it. There's going to be some people that have heard the word of truth from the Israelites, and they have been convicted, but they never moved on their conviction. Nobody was forcing them to. They were convicted, and they just kept going what they wanted to do. Then when that sense of doom comes, they're going to want that word. They're not going to be able to have it. For two reasons. After a certain time, the Israelites are not going to give you the word anymore. They're going to be on the run because you're going to be trying to kill them. Number one. Number two, according to Revelation chapter 22, the time is coming where Messiah going to make an announcement. He that is holy, let him be holy still. He that is filthy, let him be filthy still. He that is righteous, let him be righteous. He that is filthy, let him be filthy still. He that is righteous, let him be righteous still. There's going to come a time when the Spirit of the Father is no longer working with human beings. He would have sealed and rested forever on those who he has sealed and rested forever, whether they be bloodline Israelites or grafted in Israelites. He's going to seal them and rest on them forever. He never leave them now. But then the vast majority of the folks are never going to get that convicting power on their heart ever again. That's why the scriptures say, seek Yahweh while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way and the unrighteous man his thoughts. And let him turn to Yahweh, and he will have mercy upon him, to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. That's what it says in Isaiah 55. See? So now is the time. That's why I say now is the day of salvation, because the Spirit is moving on hearts now. He's trying to seek people's hearts. He's trying to seal people for righteousness. He's trying to draw people into the Father's Spirit. for holiness. And again, he's not a rapist. He's not going to force his way on you. He's going to send you the conviction in your heart. That's the call right there. It's up to you to decide whether you want it or not. And you're going to get tested, just like all of us. You get tested. When you come to the truth of the Most High, it ain't no hunky-dory. That's when the devil really starts to come on you. That's when he really starts working on you. Oh, you think you moving for me? We're going to see. Just like he said with Job, he does it for all of y'all's people. Remember what he said with Job? Job ain't serving you for nothing. Take away that money. Take that money from him. He'll curse you to your face. Job ain't serving you for nothing. You know what? You cause him to have failing health. He'll curse you to your face. He is the accuser of the brethren. And so when you decide, I'm going to serve y'all, I want his spirit. Sure, y'all hears you and y'all push the spirit on you. But at the same time, y'all have to see, are you serious? Or are you playing? Are you like the seed that was in the shallow ground and something pop up right away and all of a sudden you gone when times get hard? We're going to find out. Because I'm going to chasten you. I'm going to let that enemy come at you. You going to stand firm? You going to be real? We're going to find out. See, brother, talk is cheap, ain't it? We know that talk is cheap. Who going to stand for truth after you get buffeted? That's what you're going to find out. But at that time, ain't no more truth going out. Right before the return of the Messiah, no more truth going out. The 144,000 and those with them are going to be on the run, scattered all over the earth. Not in one place, scattered all over the planet. Because Israel is scattered all over the planet. And all over the planet, there'll be a combination of people that are miserable, seeking to kill him, and people that are miserable, wishing they heard him. And a sense of doom. That is why when Messiah does arrive on the scene, the first response of the heathen is to the rocks and the mountains, fall on us and hide us from his face. Because the day of his wrath is coming, who shall be able to stand? Whereas the righteous, the ones sealed in the spirit, say, no, this is our God. This is who we waited for. This is him. Yeah. Daniel chapter 5, verse 17. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, let thy gifts be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make known to him the interpretation. And thou, O thou king, he said, the Most High Yah gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor. And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whom he would, he slew. Whom he would, he kept alive. Whom he would, he set up, and whom he would, he put down. But when his heart was lifted up and his mind hardened in pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling were with the wild asses. And they fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High Yah ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointeth over it whomsoever he will. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, has not humbled thyself, has not humbled thy heart, though thou knewest all this. So Belshazzar knew what had happened to his grandfather. He knew how he lost his mind trying to be ruler and act like he was Most High. He knew how he tried to cause everybody to worship this golden image because Daniel showed him that his kingdom wasn't going to last forever. And he knew about how Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah was delivered from a fiery furnace. He knew all that. See, this is what happens when the spirit of the Father is not with you. You can know, see, information is not good enough. You can have all the information in the world. If the spirit of the Father is not with you, the information is not going to save you. You can get all kinds of information. You can know about the Illuminati. You can know about the Freemasons. You can know about the Committee of 300. You can know about the Jesuits. You can know all the information in the world. But if the Father's Spirit is not dwelling in you, if you are not made holy, the information is not going to help. The information is of no use to you. And we see case in point right here. This man knew that his father had brought some captives from Judah. He knew that his father had a dream and that this Daniel interpreted the dream and told him what he dreamt. He knew that his father got proud and made a statue of gold and tried to make everybody worship it. He knew that he tried to throw 3 Hebrews into a burning fiery furnace, and he knew that the Son of Man came and saved them boys. He knew that. He knew that his father was warned in a dream, that Daniel interpreted that one too and told him, humble yourself, king. Watch yourself now. He knew that his father waited a whole year and started saying, is this not great Babylon that I have built for my majesty and my honor? He knew that at that moment, that man lost his mind for 7 years and thought he was an animal and ate grass like a grass for 7 years. Then he came back to his mind. Then he humbled himself and he said, yeah, there is one God. He's the most high God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then he came back to his mind. Then he humbled himself and he said, yeah, there is one God. He's the most high God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Daniel's God. That's the only one. He knew all of that. And he still tried to mingle the holy vessels of the temple from Jerusalem. Daniel, chapter 5. Beginning at verse 22, Daniel 5:22. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thy heart, though thou knewest all this, but hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee. And thou and thy lords, thy wives, and thy concubines have drunk wine in them. And thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold, of brass, iron, and wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know. And the Most High, in whose hand thy breath is, and whose all thy ways thou hast thou not glorified. Then was the part of the hand sent from him. And this is the writing, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Mene, Takal, Uparsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. And Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. Yeah. The downfall of Babylon is a metaphor for the downfall of this earth in this day. Because this earth, as you see in the book of Revelation, is described on the world system of economic system, religious system, political system. It's described as what? Babylon. Described as Babylon. Okay. So that being the case, what you're seeing in Daniel is a metaphor. It's a miniature of what you're getting ready to experience on a worldwide basis. Remember what Daniel chapter 7 showed us, that the little horn shall do what? The whole earth, and tread it down and break it in pieces. Well, we're already seeing that. We got a one world government right now. We got a one world political system right now. Got a couple of de factos. Don't worry, they're going to be brought in line. And you got a one world economic system right now. Right now. And you got a world religion. Somebody said, well, how you got a world religion? Let me ask you this simple question. Ready? You ready? Do not all the religions of the earth. If I say to you Islam, if I say to you Islam, if I say to you Baptists, if I say to you SDA, if I say to you Mormons, if I say to you Jehovah's Witnesses, if I say to you Buddhists, and any other religion you want to name, if I say any of those names to you, testing 1, 2, 3, listen now, don't they all believe they serve the same God? Am I lying? Don't they all believe they serve the same God. It's a one world system. See, again, let's go back to the first commandment. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. By telling the Israelites they should not have any other gods, that means that there are other gods that people would worship. And as a matter of fact, the reason we were placed into slavery was because we were worshiping the other gods. But now in this one world system, they only tell you there's one God. Everybody serves him. All nations serve him. That's not true. By virtue of the commandment. You already know there's more than one. So which one do they serve? Well, the Bible already showed us in Revelation chapter 13, didn't it? Let's review that. Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. Revelation 13, let's read from verse 2, down to verse 4. Revelation 13, from 2 to 4. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? When everybody in the world thinks they serve him the same God, that's the beast right there. All these religious systems are one. Oh, they may have different ways, you know. The Mormons think it's white Jesus from Utah, right? Jehovah's Witnesses think it's the Watchtower in New York. And they all think they're serving the same God. The SDAs think it's Ellen White. And they all think they're serving the same God. It's the dragon. And again, how you differentiate? Because there's only one true God, according to the Bible. It's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He only gave his commands, he only gave his law, he only gave his covenant to one people. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Everybody on the planet Earth was not in the land of Egypt, in the house of bondage. I'm the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. He only told that to one people. Again, let's look at Psalm 147. And then all the prophets speak with one voice again with regard to this. But I'm going to give you, I gave you one already, Exodus chapter 20. Let me show you this one. Psalm 147. This is all over the Bible. Psalm 147. Notice this. Oh, I'm sorry. Raul Rosado. Let me explain. I'm sure you're confused by what's going on. On the live chat, Raul, we talk Bible. On the upload, you see my channel where there's uploads, that's the Knicks. See? So I'm sorry if you're confused. So when you see the uploads, that's the Knicks. When you see live, it's Bible study. Okay? I didn't mean to confuse you with that. It's not your fault. It's actually my fault. Okay? Raul, I hope you understand that. So you walked in here, you was probably thinking, well, oh, this is Raw Hebrew is talking about the Knicks. You're not. No, this is the Bible study. All right. I hope you hear me. Okay. Psalm 147, verse 19 and 20. Watch what it says here. Psalm 147, verse 19 and 20. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. Watch this. He hath not dealt so with any nation. As for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh. He hath not dealt so with any nation. As for his judgments, they have not known them. Again, this is not a religion. It's a nation that serves a God of the nation. It's not a religion. It's a nation that serves the God of the nation. And the nation, because of its sin, is scattered to the four corners of the earth. Okay? One more scripture. Amos. Chapter 3. Amos. Chapter 3. We came to Amos already before. Okay. Amos chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. Amos chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. Notice what it says. Hear this word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family, which I brought up out of the land of Egypt. See, it's a specific people saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquity. See, he punishes us harder because we only has he known of all the families of the earth. Okay? So, no, we don't all serve the same God. There's Yah, and there's everybody else. Okay? There's Yah, and there's everybody else. Right? I'm trying to tell you. There's Yah, and then there's Santa Claus. There's Yah, and then there's the Easter Bunny. Two different things now. Okay? So, it's the chosen people of Yah who are being punished, that are now scattered, that are now awakening, that are being brought back to the God of their fathers. And they're being brought back so that they can warn the earth the way Daniel warned Babylon of the coming destruction that's coming. We are now we are now lost my train of thought. We are now getting prepared for that. We are now getting prepared for that. That's what's going on. We're getting prepared. What you're seeing here is a dress rehearsal. 2020 is a dress rehearsal. It's a wake-up call. Okay? Dress rehearsal is a wake-up call. That's what it is. And so you're going to see some things get worse. It's going to get worse. And then you're going to see some things get better. You are. You're going to see some things get better. And you're going to see a religious revival. All these denominations, religions going to be revivals. People are going to be getting into their religion again. People are going to be going to church again. Right before the destruction. At the same time, Yah's servants will be given his spirit of the Holy One. And when they get that spirit and they speak, people are going to be convicted. And the Most High is not going to force anybody to serve him now. But they will be convicted. You're going to feel it. It's going to hit you like a lightning bolt. Boom. Ooh, that was true. And it's going to be up to every individual, whether or not, to follow that conviction. The Bible does show us 1/3 of the bloodline Israelites will be delivered. 2/3 are going to get wiped out. 1/6 of the Gentiles are going to come to the truth. 5/6 are going to be wiped out. The Bible does show us that. Okay? Before we leave, let me just give you the two verses so you can see I'm not making that stuff up. Okay? So first of all, let's see, we in the neighborhood, so I might as well go to Zechariah. Zechariah is right here in the neighborhood. This is about the Israelites. Zechariah chapter 13. Zechariah chapter 13, verse 8 and 9. Zechariah 13, verse 8 and 9. This is about the Israelites. Notice what it said. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. But the 3rd part shall be left therein. And I will bring the 3rd part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. And they shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my Most High. That's the Israelites. Now let's see what I said about the Gentiles. Ezekiel chapter 39. Ezekiel chapter 39. See, unless you're reading these prophets, you're not going to know none of this stuff. You got to read the prophets, man. That was fooling people, talking about, that's Old Testament. Don't read that. That's Old Testament. And we're going to see how old it is when they come to pass. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 1 and 2. Therefore, thou son of man, prophecy against Gog. Gog is the European. And that's Genesis chapter 10, 1 through 5. If you want to go look that up. Prophecy against Gog, and say, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and leave but the sixth part of thee. I will turn thee back and leave how much? But the sixth part of thee. That means 1/6. And I will cause thee to come up from the north part. See, that's where the Gentiles come from. And will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. See, 1/6. I'm going to leave the sixth part of you. 5/6 of y'all going to have a problem with that. Yes. That's correct. Actually, Yah is the Father. That's a good question, Ace. Yah is the Father. The man they call Jesus Christ is Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai. Yah is short for Yahweh. Yah meaning, that's his name. Hawa meaning to exist. So when Moses said, what should, when I go back to tell the children of Israel that God of their fathers, is coming to deliver them, they're going to say, what's his name? And then the Father answered Moses and said, I am that I am. That means I exist that I exist. Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. I exist. Then later he told Moses, okay, Moses, look, your fathers, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, they knew me by Al Shaddai. That's interpreted God Almighty, Al Shaddai. But by my name, Yahweh, that means Yah exists. I was not known unto them. Yah exists. That's Yahweh. Now, his son has his name in him. His son is Yahweh Shai. Shai means to save. Yahweh Shai. Yah exists to save. So Yah is short for Yahweh. And Yahweh Shai is his son, Messiah. Yah exists to save. Now, the Europeans gave him the name Jesus because they were Greeks, right? So they said Jesus. Jesus is from a Greek god, Zeus. There's no Hebrew interpretation of that because they were Greeks. Okay, that's how they handled it. Okay, so if you look at the original King James, it will say Jesus. It will not say Jesus because no J's existed when the Bible came to pass. In the Bible times, there was no J's. J's, the letter J in English is about 500 years old. Okay, they just invented that letter, and that's why you put J's everywhere where there used to be Yah. Even in Psalm 68 verse 4, it says Jah. Well, because they put J there. Yeah, used to be Yah. Okay, so that was chapter 5 of Daniel. By the grace of Most High, we'll continue in chapter 6 of Daniel, which shows us another object lesson. Chapter 6 of Daniel show us another object lesson. But until then, my prayer for you all is that, first of all, you pray for me because I am also made of clay and I sin also. So pray for me that I be found with the spirit of righteousness upon me. And I will pray for you that the Father's spirit will rest on you and cause you to be sealed with the spirit of the Father. That he will bless you with that spirit. And that you will be either among the 1/3 or the 1/5, whichever one, 1/6, 1/3, you in that remnant group that's going to be delivered by the Father's power. Praise the Most High. Until we meet again, Shabbat Shalom.